Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of that FPL show. It's game week 15 time, Rod, and we're going to be breaking down the upcoming fixtures, all things fantasy, our scores, and upcoming transfers. Rod, how you doing?
Yeah, cool. Nice to join you, mate. I'm glad it's been a fast week. Obviously, we've had a game week in between, so it's nice to be reviewing 15 with you, mate.
Yeah, man, it's just nuts. Like, I was just looking then at the pictures, and it's like we've got games tomorrow. We literally just had like one day off, and games are back again. But yeah, really looking forward to it, Rod. There's some real juicy fixtures coming up this weekend, so I'm excited to talk to you about it. Anyway, Rod, should we just talk through our fantasy scores to start off with? Is it?
We can, but I'd rather not, as I haven't had a shocker, but I've had a poor game week. I think same with everyone. Salah created a madness, and he scored basically half my points. I did finish on 63, which was 5 above the average. It did give me a little red arrow, which I'm not pleased about one bit. But the Liverpool assets in Salah and Jota scored the majority of my points, and I'm disappointed because it started so well, and Chelsea not managing to keep a clean sheet against Watford, Rumi. James didn't even play. Jimenez couldn't score against weak opposition. Burnley, I think it was. Kane against Brentford. It just wasn't great, to be honest with you, mate. And I started the game week, I think it was 21k, and I've taken a red arrow down to 30k. So yeah. I'm not pleased about it one bit, but new game week, we'll go again.
Yeah, man, I think that's fair enough. I'm just looking at your team now, and I think the place where you're really let down the most is actually at defence. Average of 2 points across the back four. Obviously, Livramento picking up one. But yeah, I had a very similar sort of game week. I finished. You finished on 63. I finished on 66. Rod. Reece James came out for me. I brought Williams came in. He was on free. I mean, I wasn't really expecting much this game week. I just thought, like, with it being midweek, I'm probably going to get screwed over. I was watching a bit of that Villa game, Rod, and I was actually, because I didn't think he was going to win it, so I was kind of rooting for a Gabriel Jesus goal. It didn't come, but he did get a really good assist. Like you said, I had Hwang in against for Wolves against Burnley. That game just dead as fuck, to be honest, Rod. But yeah, like you said, Salah picking up the majority of your points, and I had Salah and Son as well, which were pretty decent picks, I think, looking back on it now. But yeah, there was it was a weird game week. I think the best I've seen in our friend group was actually I think it was half on like 70 odd points, but that was it. I'm just looking at the person now, Rod, with the most points this game week, and he had like Semedo, Reguilon, Cooper, Diaz. It's just stuff you're not seeing as much. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't feel like overall it's that bad of a week. I know you obviously got the downwards arrow and you went down 5k, but just looking at it, the players who did really well this week weren't really the core, sort of like the template squad we've talked about in the past.
I think you're completely right there in saying the players who did perform, they're not going to be highly picked, and you can't expect the players who did perform to have done very well. And it was one of those game week where the template squad did not prevail, and the lesser players did. So congratulations to those who did pick up on those Reguilons, on those Coopers.
Yeah, I think Reguilon's a really decent shout to pick up as well, because I was watching a bit of the Spurs game right before United kicked off, and I just thought he always looks very lively going forward, and I think down that left-hand side is the best side for Spurs, and obviously they're not where they want to be, and obviously Conte's mentioned recently that he's not a magician, he can't just click his fingers and make everything great at Spurs, but I think you are seeing slight improvements in them. I thought Son was very very good against who were they playing? Brentford, wasn't it? Yeah. And I thought Reguilon was good as well. Obviously, I'm looking at the guy with the top squad right now, and to have Liam Cooper, I think that's a bit of a strange one, so a bit jammy almost to have that sort of player. And but the one guy he does have in this team who I'm looking at is actually Cristiano Ronaldo. Rod, obviously it was Michael Carrick's last game in charge of the first team on Thursday night. He's left this position now as head coach as well at United, stepping down after 15 years at the club as a player and coach, and now it's all down to Ralf Rangnick, Rod. And I just wanted to get your opinion on, how long is it going to take Ralf to come in and maybe not necessarily get the team playing amazing or anything like that, but just to get a solid run, because United's fixtures coming up are very, very favourable for them. And, United have got some really solid players in terms of fantasy, which you could look to pick up.
I think definitely it's going to be key to keep an eye on these United assets. New manager, we saw a bit of a new manager bounce yesterday. It's Carrick. I think Carrick, obviously, the 3 games that he's managed, he's done a brilliant job. But in comes a new gaffer, in comes new plans, tactics, a new setup, and it's definitely going to be one to keep an eye on. And obviously, I'm sure we're going to touch on this even more shortly. But Ronaldo, especially I think United probably have the best run of fixtures in the next 10 game weeks of any team. So they are going to be high in demand, these United assets. The only one I'm currently looking at is Ronaldo, because I do want a Rashford, I do want a Sancho, but I don't know how nailed those players are.
Yeah,
I feel like Bruno is quite expensive, so obviously the people who can rival him are Sancho, Rashford, and maybe Ronaldo. Well, probably definitely Ronaldo, who I'm looking at. But it's going to be definitely interesting to look at these United assets, because you've got a great squad and you've got great fixtures, and this is where points could be picked up, and this is where differentials could be made.
Yeah, I think that's really fair as well. Personally, I'm not too sure about bringing him in for this week. I'd really like to bring in Ronaldo this week. I can't lie, but I don't know if it's even possible for me. And also, I'm not too sure with the short turnaround, so I'm not too sure about that, Rod. But yeah, like you said, there are other players in the United squad who I am actually interested in. I know Ragnick's come out in the past and said how big of a fan that he was of Sancho, and how much of a talent he is. So I can see Sancho being a regular, and what I hope with Rangnick coming in is we're going to see Sancho on the right hand side, because in my opinion, playing Sancho on the left and Rashford on the right it just doesn't work. I don't mind Sancho on the left, but I feel Rashford, if you're going to play Rashford or someone else on that left-hand side and they're cutting in, that's fine. But I don't like Rashford as like an out-and-out winger looking to get the ball in. He doesn't play like that. And, I think if Rangnick comes in, we can get Sancho in fantasy as well. I think we could look at quite a few goal involvements for himself, just because of the talent he is and the team he's got around him,
I think 100%. Sancho's someone who does intrigue me, and I want to watch a bit more of him, see if he does pass the eye test. But obviously, him scoring in recent games, he's done very well, and I do know that he is a Rangnick player. He's high press, goes at defenders, etc. So I do feel like he's going to be in his plans, and he has to be in his plans at 75 million, really. But Sancho is definitely going to be one to keep an eye on, and United assets in general. Like that fixture run, I think that's one of the best fixture runs I've seen in recent times. And I think people are going to need United assets. Which ones? It's a bit difficult to say at the moment, but the sooner we see a United squad 11 template, the better, because then we can bring in those players. Bruno, for me, is the only 100% at the moment, but at around 10 and a bit million, he is a lot of money.
It is, yes. But I did see a stat earlier on where he's got in 100 Premier League games, he's got 100 United games, sorry, he's got 40 odd goals and I think 35 odd assists or something like that, which is, he gets a lot of stick, Bruno, and he is in a bit of he has been in a bit of a patch where he hasn't been hitting the ground running per se, but I do think he's a very solid player and his stats are really good. In terms of the United assets, I actually think you could be looking at some of the defense on United. Cause I know there are other strong defenders. Like I said, I think Reguilon's going to be a really good pickup in the coming weeks. But I'm looking at Alex Telles, if he could get a consistent start as well as Delo. Obviously, we saw them play the other night. I'm not sure Ragnick's position on Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw, but it'd be interesting to see if one of them makes a run in the starting 11, and they're certainly a cheaper choice.
And just touching back onto that, Bruno, he is 11.6 million, and now that he's probably not taking penalties, that is going to put us away from him. But what you mentioning just on those defenders, just had a look on the fantasy market, and Diego Dalot is 4.5 million, and Tellers is 5 million. And like you said, I think they are right up Randnick Street in terms of what they can offer. So if we do see Dalot get extended game time, then at 4.4 million and owned by 0.1%, that is a huge differential.
Yeah, I think Dalot is like someone who has, huge upside in terms of fantasy, because if you can pick him up, for that 4.5 million, and with Ragnick that from what he said and what has been said about him, he loves to be proactive on the ball and without it, and I think Dalot offers you a bit more. It's certainly going forward than Wan-Bissaka, and 4.5 million. I think could be a real decent pickup, especially if United can start keeping some clean sheets.
Do you think, as a United fan, that he will get a consistent run of games, or do you think the minute Wan-Bissaka is back fit, he'll start playing again?
I actually think. You just don't know at the moment, do you? It's kind of like everyone gets a clean slate. It's like McTominay and Fred. Like, we was watching McTominay last night, and I thought he was. A lot of people give him a lot of credit for a lot of the tackles. I can give him credit for the tackles, but it was the distribution of the ball. Like, he's playing in a role where, he's going to get on the ball for United, pick it up, and get us going forward. He just gets us going backwards. But under Ragnick, who knows, man? He might come in and have a word with him, talk things out. McTominay could be a beast. I don't think so, but there's certain players. I think Donny might come into this team now and play alongside Fred or Matic. And I'm telling you now, I think I'm not like Fred's biggest fan. He the other day he had like a man of the match performance, and he was also shit at the same time. He's one of the only players I know who can actually do that. He made some really bad mistakes, not tracking his runner and stuff like that. But I think, under Ragnick, he could be a brilliant player. So in terms of, the back four, I don't know who's going to start. He could come in and drop Maguire. You just don't know. And
just if I can jump in, I think, am I right in saying Maguire started last night?
Yeah, and he was shite.
Well, that's what I don't like about that. I know he spent a lot of money on him and he's meant to be a captain, but if a player has been poor for weeks, he gets injured, that's the time to just drop him for a little bit, bring him back to earth, because he has been poor, and I don't think he should come straight back in when you have got people knocking on the door. Like, I know Bailly is inconsistent, but I feel like when he's been called upon, he has done quite well.
Yeah.
So I think probably play Bailly over him, and I don't know.
I think when they're fit, I would go with Varane and Bailly, but it's hard to say, because Maguire it's like, we do shit on him because we have high standards of him, obviously, with the price tag, but he has had games where he's been really impressive, but it's just that inconsistency where he's, he might be a 7, 8 out of 10 one week, and then another week he's 3, 2 out of 10. But yeah, it's really frustrating.
That's what separates you from a good player and a great player. That consistency, and I feel like he's a good centre on his day. He's a very good centre back, but more often than not, we're discussing him dropping 4, 5 out of 10s, which it's not good enough to play for Man United, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. Rod, let's talk about Everton right now, because a bit of an abysmal display to lose 4-1 in the Merseyside derby. In my opinion now, I think Rafa's got to go. I know he hasn't got a fully strength squad or anything like that, but if you can't get your team up for that game, how are you going to get them up at all?
Rafa Benitez. I think I'm in the boat where sacking him, it will do zero. That Everton, they're similar to Watford. They're in a cycle of sacking managers, getting new ones in, sacking them again. I don't think sacking him is the right choice, but you saying that if he can't galvanise them for Merseyside derby. What can he do? But his squad is completely depleted.
Yeah.
But for me, they did not put up an effort in that Liverpool game, and it's maybe Liverpool's not a fair metric, even though it is a Merseyside derby. They're scoring goals for fun, but it's since like he's missing a lot of players, and they just do look poor. I think they played Brentford last Sunday. It must have been, and once again they just were poor. I can't. I remember watching a game earlier on in the season. I think you were watching it as well, Joe. Might have been messaging.
Yeah.
With, I think it was Burnley Everton, where it was an end-to-end game, and you could see what they were about. And we were discussing Damari Gray on the show, but now they just look lost. They don't really have an identity. They don't know where they're going. And I feel like sacking Rafa, it will be the wrong thing to do, because I don't think there's anyone out there who would jump in and do a better job, so to speak. Rafa has brought his players in, and we know he's brought his players in because he takes Andros Townsend and Salomon Rondon anywhere he goes. But I don't know what's not going right for him at the moment.
Yeah, I agree, man. For me, they haven't got the easiest fixtures coming up. I just brought them up now. They got Arsenal, then Palace, then Chelsea, Leicester, Burnley, Newcastle. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, bringing in your manager's going to be nothing. But for me, you knew they were going to lose against Liverpool, right? They're outmatched, right? But what you want to see is a performance and, a will to win, that want to win. I just didn't see that in the Everton side. Yes, they're missing DCL at the moment, and there's talks about Arsenal wanting him. But for me, the squad's poor. They're players who I am trying to stick away from in fantasy, and there is a couple of players in that team who I wouldn't mind in my squad if everyone was on form. I've still got Damari Gray, who did actually score a goal the other night. I don't know how to feel about Damari Gray, because I think he's actually proved that he is Premier League quality. But in terms of fantasy, it's a bit hot and cold. He was on a real purple patch at the start of the season where he just couldn't miss left foot, right foot. But it is time for me to definitely look at replacing him. I don't know who I'm going to bring in for him, but that's definitely one move I need to make. The only thing I'd say is, if you could get rid of Rafa, who are you going to get? I'm not too sure who they could get, but something needs to change, whether it's, what Rafa's doing, or if it's bringing someone else in, I'm not too sure. But, things have got to change, because they have got a difficult run of fixtures, and they got Arsenal next, and for me, that's a really winnable game. I actually picked Arsenal to beat United 2-0 on last week's show, but I was really overestimating Arsenal defensively. I thought that we'd give them more of the ball and they would be too good defensively for us to score, because we're not that we haven't got that idea and philosophy and style of play which we know what we're going to do. So I thought United might just get a bit mixed up, but I was actually really surprised, because I know Arsenal do turn over for the big teams and just bend over and get it given to them, but I feel like, against us, it was a real winnable game. Yes, they could have had more, but even when you're looking at the first goal, I mean, I'm not saying it should have been disallowed or anything like that, but it's kind of lucky, isn't it? You know what I mean? To have De Gea go down like that and to get the goal, it could have been more for United as well. I know Arsenal had other chances to score, which they should have taken, but they still just very spineless for me, and I know people are going on about how Arteta's improved the team, but I'm just not too sure if that's correct.
Mate, I think you're fully right, and that game yesterday, that's a metric for what we go off. Like, Arsenal are not good enough for top four, and United have been woeful this year. United's a game you look at in recent times where Arsenal do have a good record against them, and okay, we can beat these. We can beat these more than ever now because of the form they're in and because of how they're playing. And that Smith Rowe goal, it was dodgy. If De Gea's not on the floor because he's been trod on, he saves that with ease, and that's one of their goals. And I feel like that anytime they get tested, they crumble. So are they good enough for top four? We touched on it, I think, on the show earlier this week, and for me, going off that, they're not good enough for it. But they may surprise me in the coming weeks, and if they can string some results together, we know how quickly the Premier League changes.
Yeah, you're correct on that, Rod. Should we have a look at these upcoming games for next week, Rod, and talk maybe, is there a player we should be bringing in or keeping an eye on in most games? We start on Saturday at 12:30 tomorrow. God, it's less than 18 hours away now. West Ham against Chelsea. I think this is a really interesting game, Rod. I think West Ham have been nothing shy of brilliant this season. I think they've, really shown a togetherness as a squad. They've shown the quality they have. I mean, you're looking at their bench now, and they've got Lanzini on the bench, and players of that quality, and it's just it's so different to see West Ham like that. And Chelsea again. A lot of people have gone on about how good Chelsea are this season, and I agree. But I am still not. I still haven't seen Chelsea at their best, I'd say.
I think you're right. This is a nice game to start off game week 15. West Ham at home against Chelsea, a London derby, we could say. And for me, I feel like their playing styles are quite similar, where I feel like they're counter-attacking teams. And it's gonna be a test of character for West Ham, because this is probably one of the hardest games they've played this year against a very good, well-organised Chelsea side. But
yes, yeah.
In the last few years, I'd probably say that it's not a winnable game for West Ham. But for me, this year they've been brilliant, and I feel like, especially Chelsea, where I feel like earlier on in the week, Watford probably should have and could have beat them. So I feel like West Ham they're gonna be well up for it after drawing to Brighton midweek, and I can't see them getting a result. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 West Ham, and that does lead me on to me saying I will be bringing in Antonio. My two transfers are Dennis and Antonio, and yeah, I think I'll be playing Antonio against Chelsea because he's on a drought, but I've got that feeling.
Yeah, actually, Antonio is one player I'm actually looking to bring out of the side, which I find a bit interesting. I do think it's a really intriguing game in terms of the teams in the matchup. I actually think West Ham might have, with the home crowd as well, I think they might have a bit too much for Chelsea. I think it's going to be really really important to see how West Ham play in this game. I think they need to press Chelsea. I think that's when they've been not necessarily weak or anything like that, but that's when they're weakest. If you can press them, obviously you are at risk of being caught on that counter-attack from Chelsea, which is brilliant when they get the wing-backs going forward and they're almost like in the front three with the striker. So yeah, I agree. I think West Ham 2-1 is a really good and decent result if you're putting a bet or anything like that on. I also think, in this game, someone like Reece James coming back in, man, he's just so important to Chelsea, and I think he's like joint top goal scorer for him this year, and it's going to be important if he should be back in for this game, but it's going to be important. Obviously, Chelsea did rest some players in midweek, and we're going to have to see a different performance from them, because I think if they play how they did against Watford, they might get turned over here. Move on to Newcastle against Burnley, Rod. Burnley in the probably worst game of midweek, where they drew 0-0. Newcastle, they drew, was it 2-2 or 1-1?
It was 1-1.
Yeah, and I thought it was going to be a 0-0 draw that game, but I was wrong. But I did get the draw right, so I'm pretty happy with that. I just thought Newcastle in that game, they showed they are different to under Bruce. They got something different about them, but obviously it wasn't good enough. There was a brilliant finish, I think it was for Timu Pukki. I could be wrong. It was a volley, wasn't it?
It was a brilliant finish, and you are right indeed. It was Timu Pukki.
Yeah, man. I'll be talking about Pukki in a minute, but I think Newcastle might actually get their first win of the season here against Burnley. I know Burnley are I don't know how to describe them, because they're not good, but they're not bad. They're very just like Brexit.
They're like we mentioned earlier this week. That game, Norwich-Newcastle, was a 6-pointer, and we have another 6-pointer this early on in Burnley-Newcastle, and we've seen what Newcastle can offer. Kieran Clark absolutely causing mayhem early on, getting sent off.
Yeah, I felt bad for them as well after that, because, you've gone into a game with a game plan, and for such a silly foul. To be fair, I think Pukki would have actually scored from there. I'm a big fan of Pukki. I just don't feel like he's always been utilised well at Norwich. But yeah, sorry.
I think, yeah, you're right. That foul didn't have to be made because it was purely down to his mistake, and he tried to recover it. But yeah, the game plan goes out the window from there, and you can see Eddie Howe was fuming, and Norwich, the relegation battle does hot up if Newcastle win this. This puts literally 3 teams on 10 points, and it is the bottom 3. Can I see Newcastle winning it? I really don't know. They are at home though, which probably does work in their favour. But for me, Burnley do have a better squad on paper. But it's going to literally go down to that 3 o'clock game where anything can happen, and come 5 o'clock, we'll see the result. But I couldn't. It would be hard to make a prediction, but because we are on the show and we are about predictions, I am going to go for a 1-1 game, and it's going to be literally similar to that Norwich game. It is going to be a sloppy game. I do see Wood and Wilson scoring.
Yeah, I'm going to go with. Sorry for yawning. Very tired tonight. I'm going to go with Newcastle 2-1. I think maybe Burnley can get 1, but I don't see him scoring many more than that. Southampton against Brighton, Rod?
I feel like this will be a good game. This will test Brighton once again, getting a big result midweek against West Ham. But I do see them just edging it in this game. Mind you, it wasn't Malpe won the goal midweek, but I do feel like they'll have just a bit more quality than Southampton, which is a shame because I imagine Livermore will be coming on for me at some point this week. But I'm going to go for a 1-0 Brighton win.
Yeah, like you said then, the Malpe, he did like the stiff leg, dead man's fucking pirate wooden leg bicycle kick. It was a brilliant goal, to be fair to him. Yeah, big fan of Brighton. I think they have been struggling just because of, I think, maybe quality in the midfield at some points, and definitely through the middle. I think Malpe has a lot to offer to the team, and I think he could definitely offer more to him. I think Southampton could get the win here, though. But I think they're a hard team to play against. I think their midfield is brilliant. I think they've got one of the most underrated midfield duos in the league. I think Ward-Prowse should be somewhere bigger. And is it Romeo, isn't it? Yeah, I think he's very, not like the greatest player in the world, but as a partner to Ward-Prowse, brilliant. I'd say it's better than Fred. But yeah, I think they're going to be hard to play against. I think Brighton might struggle here. I'm gonna go with 1-1 draw, Rod. Hopefully Livermore can get an assist. Yeah, right. Next game, Wolves against Liverpool. I think this one might be the best of the 3s. Yeah, it definitely is. Wolves obviously coming off that disappointing 0-0 draw to Burnley. I think they would be disappointed in themselves mainly just because of, they have been on such a good run, and then kind of just they'd like to go out, but I don't know what the phrase is, like the candle where the candle runs dry or whatever. But yeah, on a brilliant run, and then for it to go to a 0-0 against Burnley, I think they would have expected, all 3 points in that game. But they have been impressive, Rod. And I think what Bruno Lage has done is he's come in and he's got that back 5 playing, brilliant. I think you look at people like Kilman who come in. I think he's been a brilliant player this season for Wolves. I think Liverpool might struggle going forward, but I think they will crack the code in the end. I'll probably go with a 2-0 Liverpool.
I think I'm opposite to you. I don't think they will struggle one bit. We know what Liverpool are like going forward. It's ridiculous. The formidable 3 of Salah, Mane, Jota at the moment are they're just so good. And this will be the 3 p.m. game that I'm watching. With obviously I'll have Trent, Jota and Salah playing in it, with Captain Salah, of course. And Wolves, they have been on a good run. And if we do look at the table, I'm more than certain they're in the top 10. Yeah, they're 8th on 21 points. Level with United, actually, believe it or not. And so they're 2 points behind 5th. And 3 points behind 4th, so that clearly shows how good they have been this year. But Liverpool, they have been ridiculous, and I'm gonna go for a 3-1.
Okay.
and hopefully a Salah brace
Oh,
at
sorry.
least. That would be lovely.
Yeah, the reason I think it's going to be difficult, I think, going to the Molineux and the home crowd, they're pretty lively there. And I just think, with that home support, I think Wolves could get off to a good start, and you can maybe see it going into the second half, potentially at maybe 1-0, 0-0, and then you see Liverpool late on just cracking the code. Anyway, moving on, Watford against Man City, Rod. I think, despite Watford's good performance against Chelsea, I think they're going to get just turned over here. Just because City are so risk avert, they keep the ball. I just don't see Watford really getting out their own half. It could be 3 or 4. It could just be 2. But I see City winning, so I think it's worth keeping Gabriel Jesus for this game week, Rod.
Yeah, there's a lad at work who's a Watford fan, so a turnover would be amazing, just so I could miss him. But I like Man City. Watching them again midweek against us, where believe it or not, we were brilliant second half.
I thought you
But
were as well.
you saw how good City are, and when they keep the ball, it's impossible to get it off them. So I feel like they are going to be too strong for Watford. KDB, Stones, Walker, and Gundogan are back, so they're pretty much full strength. I am probably going to go for I'm going to go for a 2-0 because City tend to go 2 goals up
And just
and
pass it around.
to conserve energy. We don't see ever like Liverpool where we see a 3-4-0. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 and he's going to be comfortable.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'll probably go with 4-0 City, to be fair there. Also, Rod, actually, no, we'll wait till we get to Villa till I ask you that question about City. Leeds against Brentford, Rod. I think this is actually a really intriguing game at Ellen Road. I think Brentford are the sort of team who could actually give Leeds a bit of an hiding.
Brentford, I would have told you that how many game weeks ago? Maybe 6 game weeks ago, where Brentford were looking the real deal. Leeds have improved as of late, got a big result against Crystal Palace, but Brentford they are going to fancy themselves. Going against the Ellen Road crowd, especially on a Sunday, is always quite difficult. But I do feel like Brentford do have the minerals to do it. Tony and Mbeumo need to step up. But unfortunately, I'm going to go with a Leeds win. I am going to go for a 2-1 win, which I really don't want to say it. But yeah, Leeds, I feel like are going to win.
Well, I don't know what this bollocks is, Rod, on here. It's saying the 2 o'clock games are being shown and are being televised here in the UK. Might have to go over to America to watch it then. Or Saudi. Yeah, I actually think Brentford are going to get the result in this game, Rod. I think, someone like Mbeumo, who obviously he's so hit and miss, man. I just think... the intriguing thing is, I'm pretty sure he's only 21, 22, Rod, which is actually crazy. But
he's losing his hair, isn't he?
He's got that hairline, but, no judgments here. But at least he owns it, Rod. That's what I like. If you start going bold, just shave it off, man. Own it. But yeah, anyway, I think Brentford here are going to probably get 2 or 3 goals, and I think Leeds could be the same. I think this could be a really good game. I think it's actually going to be 3-3, Rod. I just think Leeds getting back Luke Ayling and Patrick Bamford, I think it just brings more of a stability to the squad. Not necessarily improves them per se in personnel, because I don't rate Bamford that highly or Ayling, in fact, but I just think the comfortableness about them, and the leadership skills of both of them. Just even though Bamford's quite soft spoken, he's played up front for a while now at Leeds, and he's very he's recognisable to the team, and I think he's going to offer them something different. So I'm going to go. I think 3-3.
You nailed it. He just had a look. He is 22 years of age, crying and poor guy, man. Stop hitting the post, Brian, and start scoring.
Yeah, I need him to start scoring because I keep playing him in my team, so he better score this weekend because he might be gone next weekend. Right, United against Crystal Palace, Rod. It's the first game under Rangnick. I'm not too sure it's going to make too much of a difference. I think you're going to see a performance from United, but I'm not too sure if it's going to be the Rangnick way just yet.
This is a game where I feel like Man United will dominate, but Palace they need to kind of revive their last couple of defeats, especially against Leeds, where it's a game where they would have looked at they should be winning. Well, they want to win, but Ranić, new manager bounce. Yeah, I'm going to go with a comfortable United 2-0 win, and it is going to be interesting to see Ranić in the dugout and the team that he deploys and the sort of tactics he's trying to implement. We are obviously very, very early on into his reign, but as we've seen with Gerrard and other managers, you can see the impact they have straight away. So it will be interesting to see that.
Yeah, I was thinking 2-0 United as well, but the only thing that gets me is I think Vieira's done very well with this Crystal Palace squad. I don't think they've got the most quality, but like in areas where like picking up, I think Gallagher was a brilliant little loan transfer. Be interesting to see if maybe they could go and get him on a permanent as well. And you got to think, Crystal Palace have got Eze to come in next season, and I think even if they lose Zaha, they could still be very, very good. But yeah, I think 2-0 United is probably a good scoreline. The thing is, I just feel weird saying 2-0 United because I just don't feel like for so long it's just never been comfortable. Like a clean sheet just sounds odd. But yeah, I'll go 2-0 United. Spurs against Norwich, Rod.
Wow, Spurs against Norwich. Hopefully a Kane hat-trick at the minimum. But in reality, Spurs will probably win 2 or 3-0. Kane will not be involved in either of them. And because I don't have Son, he'll probably score a hat-trick. I am going to go for a 2-0 Spurs. I feel like it will be a confident win.
Fair enough. I hope Son can get that hat-trick. I'd be very happy with that. I actually think Norwich are going to put a good fight up here. I don't think Spurs are the team that you go to and you're very fearful of them. I think you've got to be fearful of Son and maybe Reguilon, but I don't think Norwich will be worried to play against them. And I think Dean Smith's done a very good job coming into Norwich so far. Obviously, almost out of the relegation spots, almost. They've got a bit more work to do yet, but I'd be impressed with Smith, and I actually think Norwich will get a win here. I'm going to go 2-1 Norwich, which might surprise you. But Rod, now we get onto the Villa-Leicester game. First thing I want to ask, why, I was like, I couldn't believe, right? You're booing Grealish as it's coming on, and the family stands clapping him.
What made me howl was you had loads of boos, but of course you had the fucking... To be fair, I get why the family stand clapped him because of all the kids and their dads, etc. But I'd boo him if I was there. And the Villa Till I Die chant, which was bellowing across the ground, that I wasn't at the game, but it gave me goosebumps to hear it. And I'm not too sure if you've seen it, Jack, but that video of him, Jack Grealish celebrating and then realising he's on the big screen and stop celebrating, like, it gives me all that I need to know. And Jack Grealish, you are a snake. You are a wanker. You're not Villa till we die. We are. I'm going to the game Sunday. Gonna sing some Pilsners. 2-0 Villa.
The thing that gets me is that he's talking about how, I might come back one day. Don't fucking want you, mate. You can fuck off because you fucking left us. You were here when we were shit. You should have stayed while we could have been good. But in my opinion, right, I just felt like it kind of showed the difference in football. He kind of looked sad coming on, I thought. And it was the fact that he was coming on in like the last minutes of a game where his team's winning. But, I mean, you listen to that Villa crowd, man. There's nothing like it in football when you've got a team like Villa and then a team like City who are based off of nothing, really, nothingness. And not that he's going to regret his decision because he's on big shit ton of money. He's going to be getting some fucking trophies probably, but I just feel like, loyalty's dead in football, and it was lovely to see the Villa fans give it to him, and the atmosphere in the stadium was amazing. I think it would have been a great night to just be there, even though you lost. I think you did. You put in a really good performance. Obviously, that's what you said. You weren't bothered about the result, Rod. You was just what you wanted to see a performance, and I think you got that at the end of the day. It's going to be hard against City because, like, I call it like risk adverse football because they don't take no risk. It's all right. If we have the ball, they can't score, and it's like kind of very. I mean, it's smart, but it is boring as fuck. But yeah, Villa against Leicester, I think it's actually quite a tough game. but I do favour you, Rod. I'm going to go 2-1 Villa, and I hope you have a good time at the game.
I appreciate that, mate, and I hope Stevie Gerrard does get a big result against Leicester, which I feel Leicester of all years, I think this year they've been the
Abysmal
poorest they've
defensively.
been in a couple of years. They are without Tielemans, but I don't know if you've seen it, Jack, but as of late, Maddison has seemed to step up to the plate and he has done very well.
Man, that performance of night. Who were they playing? 1 second.
Southampton.
It was Southampton. They won. Oh, they drew 2-2. That's right. But Maddison was involved with the assist and the goal, and the assist and the goal were identical in how he did that cut back. Mate, Madders was being Madders in that game, Rod. I was very impressed with him. If he could come back to full force, obviously you got the World Cup is it next year. He's got this season now and the start of next season to really show what he's capable of. I think he's fully capable of getting into that England squad, and with performances like the one he showed the other day, I don't think it's up to him at the end of the day.
It is, mate, and he can't do anything. He's a brilliant player, and it'll be interesting to see what he does do. Just hopefully nothing on the weekend.
I agree. Everton against Arsenal is the last game of the weekend, Rod. It takes place on Monday, 8 o'clock kickoff at Goodison Park. In my opinion, I don't think Arsenal. I think Arsenal might win, but I don't know because I'm actually really shocked. I felt like the United game was there for the taking for them, and they just didn't perform. There's a lot made of Saka. I know he's shown quality in games, but he was abysmal in that game, in my opinion. The amount of times, obviously Telles isn't a great defender. He's good going forward, don't get me wrong, but defending wise, he's very poor, and not very poor. That sounds harsh, but I'd say marking wise, he's quite poor. Where he left Saka open time after time, and he received the ball in the box, and he did nothing with it. Yeah. You know what? I'm just going to go with how I feel. I'm pissed off with Arsenal in a way. I don't know why. I don't know. I just thought more of them. I thought they were better than they were. I don't think they are that. I'm actually going to go with an Everton win, Rod. I'm going to go 2-0. You're going to see a reaction from Rafa's boys.
And you're right, Rafa's boys do need a reaction. They are going to still be without lots of key players. Arsenal probably will have a bit too much class for them. And it's a game where this is the type of game Arsenal will be looking at, and if they win, it wouldn't be a big surprise. And it's when it gets to the big games where they struggle. So I'm going to go with an Arsenal win. I'm going to go 2-1. But I'm hoping I don't even know what I'm hoping for, as I can't really even watch it. But
I'm not even really. It's kind of a shit game, isn't it?
Yeah,
Everton Arsenal of old was a really good game, but it just kind of means nothing.
I'd like a draw. I'd like a 2-2 draw, and Everton score 2 very, very jammy goals, and Arsenal's goals are very good.
I don't know. Arsenal are a fan of scoring jammy goals at the moment. Like the one against De Gea when he was down, but. We'll see, Rod. Thank you for watching this episode of That FPL Show. Me and Rod will be back hopefully on Tuesday, it looks like. Obviously, this one's going up late, so if you do enjoy it, please leave a like, comment below if you're brave enough to do so, and you just want to interact with us. We'd love to interact with you if you made it this far through. Leave a like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.